let's go over kind of the internal battle, if you will, of getting through the ego and into the true self. So let's start with where you begin. Where you begin, right, is this paradigm, this programming, this matrix life that you have for yourself that we call the ego, or the ego mind identity. And realize that in this matrix reality that we've created, there is and isn't good and bad, or good and evil. So we've created, of course, the situation, the temporary situation, the game, the matrix, the reality of there being good forces, or the light, and evil forces, or the dark. And so from this place where you are, there certainly is dark forces that are actively trying to combat the light, trying to keep us in the programming. And you could think of them as energies, or primal forces, or demons, or whatever you want to think of them as. It's all kind of the same idea. But so when we're going through this process of awakening, we have to realize that there is these types of forces. But there's also the truth that everything is within you. And that really is the truth of your reality. It's both true and not true simultaneously from that ego perspective. And so what we have to do to start making the transition of this evolution from ego consciousness to unity consciousness, going from being an ego mind identity to being the true self, the I am presence, letting that embody you and become you, we have to protect ourselves. We have to, there are different shielding techniques. You can imagine white light over yourself. You could do, one of my favorite techniques is using this 12D shielding technique that you can find on YouTube. And what we're doing here is we are convincing the subconscious that there is nothing outside of us that can affect us. And this is really important so that you can learn to discern what is you and what is not you, because you have had the perception of external forces affecting you throughout your incarnation here, throughout your life. So we have to start protecting our energy, and it's good to start doing this on a daily basis. It's good to start doing it in the morning or at night, preferably both. And we start to put this into our reality, that we're always protected, we're always shielded. No outside forces can penetrate and affect us. And what this does, again, is it allows you to learn how to discern what is you and what is not. And that way you can let go of the programming that's not you and recognize what's always been there, which is the true self. Because that can never be taken away. You can only you can really only put illusions over that to make it feel like you're not yourself, to make it feel like you don't know who you are, stuff like that. And so then, once we start to make that our reality, that we're protected, that nothing is really outside of us, everything's internal, then we have to look at the ego mind identity, the program, and start to decide what feels like truth to us and what does not feel like truth. And truth will feel expansive. Truth will feel, your truth specifically, will light up your heart. It will. It will feel good to your heart. It won't feel like, oh, I'm superior and I'm really good. No, it'll feel like love. It'll feel warm. It'll feel exciting. It'll feel happy. It'll feel positive. If it's the ego, it's going to say, I'm superior, I'm better, oh, look at me, I'm awakened, and all these other fools are asleep. Or there's the false light, the negative awakening that's not really an awakening, and that would be saying like, oh, everything's inside me, which means nothing else outside is real at all. But that's not true either. The real, or the outside is real, all right? We just have to realize that it's not separate from us. And that all the other beings in our reality are beings just like us. Creator beings. The self. And we're all one. The negative perspective, the negative path, would be saying they are just projections of my own creation, my own mind, and they're not real. And I can do whatever I want. And I can manipulate them, I can abuse them, I can do whatever. But that's not true. That's false light. And that's a deep trap in the awakening game. And so we really have to be careful of that. Realize that all the other beings around you are just as much the true self, the I am, the one consciousness, that you are, just another individualized fractal of a fractal of a fractal of it. Just like you are, because that's what you are. You're a fractal of a fractal of a fractal of source, basically. And so they have their autonomy, they have their free will, you have your autonomy, your free will, your sovereignty. And to truly awaken, you really have to learn how to respect others' free will, and not infringe upon their free will, while also exercising your own and recognizing that your true will is in alignment with the higher self, because that is what's best for you. That's what's most loving for you. And what's most loving for you is most loving for all others, and what's most loving for all others is most loving for you. Right? This is kind of the foundation of unconditional love, which we all are. And so, but as you open up more and you become more light, you raise your vibration, you raise your frequency, stronger negative forces, dark forces, will still try to psychically attack you, affect you, which is why we must continue shielding ourselves, making sure we know that we're protected, meaning that our light can spread out as far outside, the perception of outside of us as it can, but the darkness cannot penetrate you, cannot penetrate into you. All right, and those negative forces can't penetrate past the shield that you put up yourself. And this is sort of the next step in your evolution, is sort of keeping those other forces at bay so that you can continue to be in your sovereignty, be in your power, and so that you can recognize the manipulation, the false light that's out there, because that will always try to keep you in the ego. It will always try to keep you in what we call the spiritual ego, which is no different than the ego. It's perhaps just higher interpretation of the ego itself. And of course, the ego is always going to be saying, I'm supreme, or I'm, important, or it'll be saying the opposite. It'll be saying you're not important, or you're not special, or you don't matter, or none of this is true, and stuff like that. And so we really need to just be mindful of that, and really this is all so that we can learn spiritual discernment, which is what will ultimately save us from ego consciousness as we enter into unity, Christ consciousness, practice unconditional love, and be our true, authentic selves in our power. That's the goal. To be in your power, to really love yourself in your life, and to become the creator being, the conscious creator being that you really are. All right, much love, guys, and see you in the next one.